G'day and welcome back for another pen review with the Eccentric Electrician. Today I'll be reviewing this pen. It's a vintage Sheaffer PFM or pen for men. These were made back in, or started to be made in about 1958-59. They were brought out to be a bigger pen and sort of a final sort of push for the fountain pen industry. They come with a Sheaffer's Triumph Point nib, which is an inlaid nib design. From what I've read, these are still in production even till today on their modern pens. This one also uses the snorkel filler, so you unscrew the end, the filler comes out, you put it in the ink, you pull back and push, and it sucks up the ink through the snorkel filler, saves you getting the nib wet. They come in, or they come in the PFM 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then there was also, I believe, 2 extras, the Masterpiece, which was all gold, and the PFM Autograph. This one specifically was made in Australia in the early 1960s, and it comes in the green colour. They came in a variety of colours, but this one's the one that I kind of liked and I picked up. It's the PFM 3, which is quite a nice setup, mainly because it's all plastic with the 9-carat gold ring and clip. Alright, so we'll go through the quick description. If you want more information about the Sheaffer PFMs, I can highly recommend Richard Binder's site, richardspens.com. He has a lot of resources for fountain pens on that website, and it's really useful. So if you want to know some more information, I'd recommend heading over there and he can give you some more information on it. Alright, so the review. So on the end here, you've got just a plastic squared off taper. These pens have the squared off taper on both ends. On the blind cap, it's also got the gold plated end there, which is also squared. The barrel is actually cylindrical, but obviously tapered to squares on either end. You've got a fairly tight clip, which is quite nice. It's got the Sheaffer white dot on there, which is they're synonymous for. Just above the gold ring here, you've got Sheaffer's Made in Australia. Then you've got a tapered gold Tassie here, and this is only on some of the models where they had the gold. A lot of the others only have plastic. And then straight to a normal barrel and the taper down here. Opening it up, you can see that it's just a push-pull cap, comes off and holds quite nicely. You got a tapered barrel, which comes down to the inlaid nib with the diamond shape in it. These nibs are quite nice and they show off the make of the pen quite nicely as well. As I was saying before, they use a snorkel filling system. So you unscrew the end, the snorkel comes out, you dip it into your ink, you pull this and then push it. It creates a vacuum inside, which it releases and sucks the ink back up through the snorkel. It's a nice little filling system. If you activate it while there's ink in it or water in it, it will actually squirt quite a bit of ink or water out over some distance. This is a fine nib, and being a vintage, it's extremely fine. I quite like it, but it can be a little bit sharp when writing, so you do have to be very light-handed with this one. Obviously the nice green colour. It's quite a large pen. Here's a Lamy 2000. As you can see, it's about the same height, but it's also a fair bit girthier, which makes it quite a nice pen for using. They designed this pen obviously specifically with men in mind, having a bigger hand. It fits very nicely inside my hand posted. Unposted, it's still quite usable. I hold it quite high up the barrel, but it's still quite usable unposted as well. But I like to post it just because it makes it look bigger and chunkier. So I'll give a few dimensions on the pen, and then we'll do a writing sample. So the Sheaffer PFM, you've got capped, it's 136 millimeters. Uncapped, it's 119. Posted, it's 142. The grip diameter down here is about 10 millimeters and the barrel goes up to 12.5 millimeters. The weight with the cap is 22.6 grams and without the cap it's 14.3 grams. I quite like this pen. I'm probably going to try and pick up another one with a slightly thicker nib, maybe a medium or even a broad. But this one I quite liked primarily because even the Sheaffer's nib actually says Sheaffer's 14K AEST for Australia. So this pen was all made here in Australia. Not very often that you see pens actually made in countries anymore. They're normally made in Thailand or China and those sorts of places where it's a lot cheaper for labour. So I really wanted to pick this one up primarily because it's an Australian made one which I've never seen before. Aside from that, it's quite a beautiful pen to write with. Nice big thick pen. I quite enjoy this one quite a bit. So we'll get to that writing sample. Thank you. Okay, welcome to another writing sample. This is the Australian made Sheaffer pen for men. I'll show you the inlaid nib. Here you got Sheaffer, bit hard to make out on this one, and Australia. So I'll get the snorkel to come out so you can see that. So you go, the snorkel comes out, then you have this piston filler, a vacuum type filler. You pull, put it in your ink, just the snorkel section in the ink, and then you push it in and it fills up with ink. So obviously being a very fine nib, it's not the wettest of nibs I've got around, but it does a good job. Alright, so we'll do a writing sample. Sheaffer pen for men. As you can see, it's a very fine line. This is a fine nib. Almost call it a extra fine. The ink is Lamy spell it right in a minute. Lamy turquoise. I think I still spelled it wrong. I'll get there in a minute. Turquoise. That looks better. Lamy turquoise ink. Yeah. So we'll do a bit of writing. That was my fault. So there you go. It's quite legible, quite nice. Bit of fast writing. Keeps that quite nicely. Obviously being such a fine nib, you do have to be quite careful and quite gentle on it. As you can probably hear, it is a little bit sharp. But that's mainly to do with how fine the nib is, not anything else. Line variation, if you put a bit of pressure on it, doesn't really open up. It just allows it to lay down a bit more ink. As you can see the difference there. It's not designed to be flexed or pressed on at all. Being such a fine nib, you don't want to do that, or you could quite easily damage it. But the feed and all that keeps up very nicely. There's little bits of skips here, probably my fault for not holding on properly. Wetness. Not a very wet nib. It's quite a dry nib, obviously, because it's so fine. The other thing that I realised is when you're filling these and you're using that snorkel, you probably want to dip, the first time you fill it, you want to dip the whole nib in, just to put some ink inside the feed and inside the channel there. That allows you to sort of get a better continuity when writing the first time, and it'll help out with trying to get it to work. I had a few issues initially, and it turned out because it was too dry and I couldn't get the ink through the slot. So there you go. Quite a nice pen to use, very fine this one. You can get them a lot, obviously, in your fine or mediums, which might be better for most people, but I was looking for an extra needle fine. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.